Three messages before we get started with today's show. First, where do you go to research domain name availability, look up current and historical Whois information, and find domain name sales history? Ever wonder which other websites use the same hosting resources that you do? DomainTools.com provides a complete picture of a domain name, from research to monitoring, and is trusted by more than 1 million members worldwide. Did I mention they'll monitor domain names for you for free? I just set up 2 domain name monitors myself today. Check them out, DomainTools.com. Second, do you have a domain name or website legal issue that you need help with? David Westlow provides legal representation for clients ranging from individuals to Fortune 500 companies in domain name transactions, whether they're disputes, trademark and copyright claims, or web hosting and content liability issues. As a former software and web developer himself, David Westlow understands your needs and goals. Whether it's a cease and desist letter, a UDRP case, or buying or selling one or more domain names, contact David Westlow at newmediaiplaw.com. That's newmediaiplaw.com. Finally, you know that being on page 1, the first page of results of a major search engine like Google or Bing, can drive exponentially more traffic than being on page 2 or worse. If you're a domain developer and you need immediate free advice to get your website to the top of the organic search results, will you go check out page2sucks.com? You heard me right, page2sucks.com. Here's your program. Hey everyone, my name is Michael Seiger and I'm the publisher of DomainSherpa.com, the domain name authority, and the place where successful domain investors come to tell their stories and share their experiences. Hundreds of millions of domain names have been sold in the past, and every year, millions continue to be sold and resold. And I have yet to find a way to accurately and consistently value domain names. But hopefully that's going to change today. Joining me is Andrew Rosener, CEO of Media Options, a premium domain name brokerage and online media consulting firm. Andrew has become one of the domain industry's top premium domain name brokers in just a few years. And as you'll hear in this interview, he has a process for valuing generic domain names that he's going to share with us. Andrew, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael.
So Andrew, as a newbie to the domain name industry, I'm the newbie, I find it totally frustrating that I can't get 2 people within the industry to tell me what a domain name is worth and be within 10-20% of each other. And the people who are willing to give a valuation cannot or will not justify their reasoning, which is why when we spoke a couple of weeks back, I was so excited to hear that you would share your methodology. So let's dive into it. So from what I understand, there are 2 general types of domain names, brandable domain names and generic keyword domain names. Which does your valuation process apply to?
I would say not only my valuation methods definitely only apply to generic domain names which, let's say exact match keywords, domain names that contain keywords in the correct order, which people are typing directly into their search engine, whether it's Google or Yahoo or what it might be. These are the keywords that people are searching for. And important factor in the valuation of a domain name is that determines your market. The number of people which are typing in those keywords every month tells you there's that many people who you can potentially capture for what you're selling, whether it's a product or a service or whether you're just trying to provide information. Those are the number of people you can get on your website for what you want them for.
Okay, so we're not talking about brandable domain names like Flickr or Delicious, the way it used to be spelled, or Google before they became, Megatropolis. We're talking about words that people type into their search engine and are looking for some sort of answers about.
Yeah, no. Brandable domain names are essentially, there is no way to value a brandable domain name. Then it comes back to the old saying of it's worth what somebody's willing to pay for it. And that fits to also if you take a good keyword and you put I or E in front of it. Well, I like those kind of names, and I own some, and certainly they have value, but I don't think there's anybody that can tell you that iCloud was worth $4.5 million, which is what Apple just paid for it. But obviously, it was worth $4.5 million to Apple. It probably would have been worth in the range of $5,000 to $10,000 for me. But exact match keywords, generic domain names, I think that there is a methodology for valuing them, and there certainly is going to be debate about those valuations. And my valuation method is not going to apply to everybody. And just because that's what I say it's worth doesn't mean that's what you need to sell it at, or that's what you should be buying it at. But we need something, right? In order to expedite sales of domain names that people want to sell, we need to have a valuation method.
Exactly. And as we've seen, we published an article on Monday or last Monday about online valuation tools, and it just got torn, and there was a lot of controversy about how they value, and it breaks down at the edges when you have domains that have traffic, or when you have domains that are premium domains, or just generic keyword domains. So there's a lot of areas where valuation processes break down. I appreciate you coming on, because we'll not only get to hear what your process is, but then we'll also get to ask you about those edges. Where do things break down? Where do you need to actually have some intuition and some experience in industry to be able to add some value to the valuation process? So let's actually get into it. Let's talk initially only about .com domains. I'm going to come back after we get through the process and ask you about other TLDs and CCTLDs. But let's just only talk about .com domain names. What is your process to value generic keyword domain names?
So the first factor which I take into account, which I just mentioned, is the amount of exact match keyword search volume. And the tool that I use for finding that is the Google AdWords keyword tool. And you can easily Google that and bring up and go there. One problem that I find a lot of people have is once you get onto the Google AdWords keyword tool, you can't just type in the keywords and away you go. Down on the left-hand side, if you scroll down, there's 3 different selections. There's phrase, broad, and exact. And broad and phrase, for my purposes, have zero purpose, zero use. All I care about is the exact match. And what that means is it's those keywords and only those keywords that people are typing into Google to search for Google and all of their partners for those keywords. And I want to know how many people are typing those keywords in.
So I just went on to Google AdWords keyword tool, Andrew, and I typed in your name, and then in the halfway down on the left-hand column it says match types, and I unselected broad, which was the default, and I selected exact, which puts brackets around it. So I can see that your name, Andrew Rosener, is searched 36 times global monthly searches. So 36 times.
I've never looked that up. So
on average, you're being searched.
36. Come on, that needs to get up. Maybe after this interview, we'll get it up to 100.
I'm sure it will. Okay, so that's the first thing you do. You go to Google AdWords keyword tool. And I'll have a link to it in the on this page when this interview goes live. You type in your keyword phrase. You select exact. You unselect broad, and then what do you do?
So then you hit search or whatever, and it'll pull up your keywords, and it'll tell you how many global exact match searches there are and how many local exact match searches there are. Local meaning US. You can also select, I think the default is usually for English only and United States, but you can adjust that as well. And of course it depends on your keywords. I mean, if you're searching, for instance, I was looking up the keyword, what was it this morning? Rome, I think. It was the city in Italy.
Yeah.
And when I'm searching for Rome, I mean, I'm not necessarily interested in only what the people within the United States are searching for. I'm looking for global. So in that case, I'd be looking at the global exact match. If I'm looking for something in the the insurance space, car insurance, for instance, then I'm really only concerned with the United States, because the leads which I can sell to insurance companies are going to be U.S. only.
So if
Then
I
would
was
only
going to
be
buy carinsurance.de, I was going to buy the URL in Germany, I would go type in car insurance as two separate words, and then select, instead of location United States, maybe I'd select location Germany to see how many searches are being done.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I get it.
I do that often, like if I'm looking for, sort of short domains, like 2 or 3 letter .de domains. I don't care about the people in the U.S. that are searching for XYZ, but I do want to see how many people within Germany are searching for XYZ.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, makes perfect sense.
So, but the defaults are for the USA, and for our purposes here, let's talk about local exact match searches within the United States, English language only.
Okay.
So we get that number, and in general, let's say that I'm looking to buy a domain. Let's say somebody sends me a list of domains, and they say, hey, let me know which of these domains you think you might be able to sell. Mm-hmm. When I'm judging the viability of a domain name for selling purposes, I'll go through that list, I'll check the exact match searches, and basically anything with over 1,000 exact match searches, tells me it's got some worthiness. Now, there's people that are interested in names that have 300 or 200, or there's people that are interested in names that have none. But for our purposes here, we're talking about the generic exact match keyword domains, and I am looking for names that have at least 1,000 people per month typing those keywords into Google.
Okay.
And then that number can stretch upwards. I think the highest I've seen is somewhere around 11 million exact match.
Wow.
Hold on. Thought this was off. Anyways, so the next factor that we take into account once we've got that exact match search volume is the CPC level. What are advertisers paying for you? In the sponsored links, and you can basically formulate what it costs them every month in order to hold that spot, assuming that they have an unlimited budget with Google. I mean, if you wanted to maintain that top spot throughout the month, what would it cost you?
Okay.
And essentially, then we take into account, the statistics such as, okay, if you're in the #1 spot, how much of the search traffic can would you expect to reasonably get?
Right.
And that comes out to something around 85. There's variable numbers out there you'll find, but somewhere between 75 and 90% of the traffic, if you're in the #1 spot, is going to click on your link. Now, if you're a sponsored link, that number goes down dramatically. But for our purposes, we're talking about exact match keyword domains. And one of the purposes of buying that domain is for a strategic advantage in your search engine ranking. And so for our purposes, the reason we would buy that domain is to become #1 in Google. And if we become #1 in Google, how much traffic can we expect? How much would it cost otherwise to buy that spot? Mm-hmm. And we got to do an apples to apples comparison of what does it cost to buy that spot with Google AdWords versus buying the domain name. And so we use the CPC level. So let's just say it's $1. Let's say the CPC is $1. Mm-hmm. And let's say we've chosen a domain name. I just no idea. But let's say we found that there's 8,000 exact match searches per month.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's global or local?
Local.
Local.
We're going to talk local.
Okay, so United States.
Yeah.
Or however you have the settings set on the global.
Just to keep it non-confusing, let's just only talk local search, US only, English language. Okay?
Perfect.
So let's say 8,500 exact match searches per month.
Uh-huh.
And we can reasonably expect to get, let's say, 80% of that traffic if we're the #1 spot. Okay, times 0.8. Okay. So you can expect 6,800. Now, this doesn't include repeat traffic. This doesn't include direct navigation. This is just from the search engines, we can expect to get